Question number 10, Gareth Hughes.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker.
Kia ora.
To the Minister of Energy and Resources, does the Minister think there is sufficient competition in the prepaid retail electricity market to keep prices low for consumers?
Honourable Simon Bridges.
Mr Speaker, well, yes, but in a sense it's wrong to say competition in the market's ever sufficient. There's always room for more of it. The other thing I would say is that competition, the government thinks, needs to be viewed not as just some theoretical prepaid retail market, but across the pre- and post-paid retail electricity market, which represents the real choice, the real spectrum of choices available to consumers for electricity.
Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Well, does the Minister consider it a competitive market at all when in rural Northland, the Hawke's Bay, Central North Island, Nelson, Tasman, rural Canterbury and the West Coast, according to data released from the Parliamentary Library, there is only a single retailer provider of prepaid electricity?
The Honourable Simon Bridges.
Well, Mr Speaker, it's an exceptionally competitive market. I don't think it's actually argued to say anything other than it is the most competitive it has ever been in New Zealand. We've got more electricity retailers than ever before, 21, running 28 brands. We've seen 1 million switches since 2011. As I say, in response to the member's primary and again to the supplementary, it's not just a prepaid market, it's the entire electricity market, which is more competitive than ever.
Supplementary question, Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
How on earth can it be a competitive market for prepaid electricity when the Minister's answers are to consumers to shop around, yet that don't apply to prepaid customers because in many regions a single supplier has a regional monopoly?
The Honourable Simon Bridges.
It's an incredibly artificial position that the member has taken. He's right in some areas that Mighty River Power's Glowbug is the only prepaid service. This is a relatively new innovation that's broadly speaking very competitive with post-paid retail plans. But again, I say consumers all over New Zealand in every single region have many effective choices between prepaid and many post-paid retailers, and shopping around does provide real answers and real competition for consumers.
Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Is the Minister aware many consumers are literally forced onto a prepaid plan, and for some of the tens of thousands of households on such plans, when we see compared to the cheaper standard plan, it is 25% more expensive in Auckland for the average family household on a prepaid plan, 24% more expensive in Dunedin, 20% more expensive in Northland, and 18% more expensive in Christchurch?
Honourable
Speaker,
Simon Bridges.
Well, one can always cherry-pick answers, and what is very clear is that across the spectrum, prepaid is, they don't like it, but these are the facts, prepaid is competitive with postpaid, and in some instances is cheaper. We have the most competitive market ever, and that's why even David Shearer has dropped David Parker's balmy New Zealand power scheme.
Order. Supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Is the Minister concerned that 58% of prepaid electricity households with children have run out of credit and run out of power in the space of a single year, according to the New Zealand Medical Journal?
Honourable Simon Bridges.
Mr Speaker, I think in the manner that that member has asked that question, it's highly misleading. There would be times there where, of course, they've gone straight back out and reconnected on those prepaid plans within minutes. Mr Speaker, as I say, there's very effective competition in New Zealand in our power scheme, and more competitive than ever.
Point of order, Gareth Hughes.
Well, for the House's benefit, I seek leave to table the report in the New Zealand Medical Journal, Kids in the Cold, Outcomes for New Zealand Households with Children Using Prepaid Metering for Electricity.
Order. You've described the document. We now need the date.
That was just the title, sir. And the date is the 15th of March 2013.
On the basis that may be informative, I'll put the leave us sought to table this particular article in the New Zealand Medical Journal, I think. Is there any objection? There is none. There is objection. Question number 11.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question. The Honourable supplementary question, Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Would the Minister consider immediately starting work on a code of conduct for the prepaid electricity market to help protect what are some of our most vulnerable families?
Honourable Simon
Speaker,
Bridges.
well, there is a vulnerable consumer code of conduct, and all intents and purposes it's working very well.
Question number 11. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety. Does he agree with the report of the Labour Inspectorate that found that